Hey kids, Nathan here. Here to talk today about something I think is long overdue, and I hint at regularly, but it's time to just come out and say it. Drug laws are stupid. Um, there's a lot of reasons for this. I understand why they got put in place. I believe drug regulation is important, but outright banning it and all this crap is just crap. Um, Case in point, my first reasoning behind this: drug laws are not a deterrent. Everyone says stronger laws deter crime. They do maybe in some things, but not with drugs, not at all. Period. They don't deter it at all. Take what is it? Dubai, I think, where they cane you for drug possession, throw you in jail for life. Fucking, they execute drug dealers. I believe. I might be talking about the wrong place, but this is done in the world. Um, yeah, drug dealers are executed. Yeah, people jailed for life for that sort of thing. Japan, likewise, very, very, very strict, or at least they used to be. Um, anyway, the point is that that's never worked. There's still drug users in those areas, um, still going hard, partying when they can, doing what they can. And it's always hard in a place where it's so aggressively banned, but it's still done. Is the point? Likewise, you won't ever get rid of drugs by somehow keeping it away from the populace long enough to try. There will always be those that desire to try it. Case in point, myself, when I was 11 or 12, long before I'd ever tried drugs, I decided that I wanted to. Uh, that was a result of the DARE program. I was like, oh my God, there's things that control the way you feel or let you see colors in the sky or any other of the nifty effects that they have. I was like, yeah, that's something I want to try and see if I want to involve it in my life. I never did until I was 16, and it's another story for another video. But yeah, I did not try them for some time, but I wanted to. That was built in. Yeah. Yeah, it's not something that's just the result of exposure and gets you hooked. Um, some of us wanted to try drugs for years. Heroin, I wanted to try for easily 15 years. Since I was 16, I started trying drugs. I used the simple formula that I'd learn all I could about the drug, and if I was willing to accept the problems associated with doing it, um, the stereotypical user syndromes, then I would try it. And if I liked the effect, I would do it. If it didn't meet either of those criteria, I wouldn't do it. Um, but the things that caught my attention by using those criteria were the harder drugs, things that are considered more addictive or more. To me, the more addictive they were, the more bang for your buck, the more the experience, and that's what I was after. So I loved crack. I thought crack was great, um, but heroin, I just can't stand. I don't like farmies in general, um, pharmaceuticals, pills, um, and most of those are opioids or whatever. I don't know the distinction. I don't care. I don't like either of them. Um, I'll take them when I have to for pain, but that's about it. Um, yeah, yeah. Uh, they're no fun for me. I just don't understand, people nodding off, falling off. I've seen people ding their heads off of the corners of the desk, pretty bad too. I watched a man stand half unconscious, just staring at his shoes, pouring sweat off of his body, not wearing a shirt, pouring sweat, and it was puddling around his feet. And the puddle just grew for like 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. He stood that way. Fucking, yeah, I think heroin's good if you want to take a nap. It's good napping fodder. But otherwise, it's totally useless. And developing a habit of it, I don't understand. I allow for it. Dr. Hart is the famous go-to example of a functional heroin user, and not just functional. He's getting enjoyment out of it, and I see the way I see it. If one man can do things properly, then all of the warnings against its improper use are kind of irrelevant. Um, yeah, it should be avoided by those who can't handle it. But if one person out there can handle it, it should not be unavailable. Um, yeah, but I got off on a long tangent there. Um, yeah, yeah, got off on a long tangent. But the point of all that was that drug users emerge. They're in an emergent part of society. Um, yeah, and it can be something that starts very young, before drugs are ever tried. So I mean, there's really no hope. And to my third point, um, things like K2 and Delta 8 basically ended the war on drugs. I mean, there's no point in a war on drugs when they're changing one molecule and making something acceptable and putting it right back out before you can even get the old stuff cleared off the street. The drug war is over. Now you're just beating a dead horse, um, and beating it you are, yeah, ridiculously. Um, yeah, yeah. So my three main points: drug laws are not preventative. Um, you can't end the emergent qualities of drug use. They come up in society again. People studying about it in history books might come to the same conclusions I did as a child, that drugs were interesting and something that I wanted to try. And then when I did try them, find out that they do in fact enrich my life. Um, yeah. So yeah, it's an emergent quality. Um, and oh God, I have a third point. I have a third point. Oh yes, and the drug war is officially lost with the way our laws are arranged and the existence of things like Delta 8 and K2. Delta 8 I can get behind. I actually do enjoy that, and I hope that once Delta 9 is legal everywhere, they still keep Delta 8 around, even though it's kind of a work around the laws for now. I enjoy it. K2, no patience for. There were some good strains, but it was such an unreliable business, this trying different molecules and stuff. Just reckless, I think, um, as far as things go. So yeah, it's emergent quality. Um, Drug laws don't dissuade use, and with the way our laws are designed, the war is officially over anyway. End game. If you knew a chess player, they know when they're screwed, when there's no variety of moves available that'll get them out of the knot or the cinch that they found themselves in. They know when it's over, and then it's just a matter of playing it out until it's done. And yeah, that's the spot that the drug war is in, and was in years ago, before Delta 8 even. That kind of just put a nail in the coffin. Um, so yeah, for those three reasons, and more that I'm not even coming up with right now, um, yeah, drug laws are stupid. Um, they're just hurtful, and by your own understanding, if drug use is truly a disease, aren't these people just in the grips of a disease and not necessarily responsible for the actual problem there? Aren't you just, again, beating a dead horse? Yeah, using a scapegoat by busting these users. Um, yeah, another fair and valid point that I know has been made for decades. Yeah, not to mention the pursuit of happiness argument. I've made it before. Um, they are not pursuing sadness by the drugs they take. They're pursuing happiness. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but if that's not constitutionally protected, I don't know what is. Um, yeah, someday our lawmakers will come to terms with that. Oh, and frankly, in places that it's been tried, this is a key point I did want to make. Places like Portland, where they legalized everything for just a minute there. Um, yeah, I have thoughts on that. When that's one place in the country that makes everything legal and available, you're gonna have everybody moving, all the junkies and the low class users and the fucking undesirables are gonna flock to that point, and they did, and it was the foreigners, the aliens, that really brought the downfall and fentanyl and all that shit. Um, yeah, that's what ruined that grand experiment. If it would have been legalized everywhere, for instance, junkies wouldn't have had to move. They would have just stayed where they were and been absorbed into society more. And maybe we'd have better ways of treating them, more and effective ways. Um, yeah, anyway, that's for another video. Um, but yes, these junkies would just stay where they are. Um, they'd be absorbed into the population the way they are now already. Um, they wouldn't have to go anywhere, and he wouldn't have a congregation of them all into one small area. That was bad for everybody, um, junkies included. They exhausted local social services. Yeah, it was a mess. Um, of course, they changed the law back, but it wasn't the wrong idea. It wasn't the wrong idea. It's just it wasn't applied widely enough to be effective. Um, and also, I've addressed the issues with treatment. Um, I think treatment should be more about. Well, I go into it in another video. Check it out. Yeah, journalism treatment. Um, yeah, yeah. There's a whole lot of things to consider about this issue, but drug laws don't work for the ways that we're trying to say they work. Um, they don't discourage people from trying. The tougher penalties don't dissuade people. Um, some are filling an itch, and some are just expressing themselves in what they like to do with their time. Um, yeah, and you can't stifle that. People will move it underground. Fucking, they'll cover it up. Fahrenheit 451 and shit like that. It's banning reading. It's never gonna work. It's time to come to terms with that. This is something that's part of society. Let's fucking make it part of society. Let's come to terms with its existence. It's certainly not going anywhere. Um, and the approaches that we're using, trying to use right now, abstinence and banning these substances, is not working. It's not the way to go. It's making more people criminals, not keeping criminals away from people. Um, yeah, it's ridiculous, and frankly, it's just to fund local police departments anymore. Um, they get so much of their budget from seizures on the money that people carry when they deal drugs, and it's shameful, shameful. Oh, which brings me to a new and scary and disgusting and unfortunate tactic that police are using. Be aware. And frankly, say something to your senator or your congressman. I am definitely. Senator Deb Fisher is getting a call from me about this. It's affected two of my friends were busted in this way. And yeah, it's disgusting. What they're doing, the police, when they arrange an undercover buy, they say to make the deal in a school zone. Meet me in a school zone. They don't say that, of course. They say meet me at the school in the parking lot, blah 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 blah, 3 a.m. And yeah, then of course the penalties are doubled. Um, yeah, I guess maybe it looks better against their quota. Um, yeah, it's a bigger bust, I guess you'd say. But they've been doing it. They did it to two separate friends of mine, two separate jurisdictions. Um, yeah, yeah. Uh, this is something that they're doing, and frankly, at the very least, they're abusing the school zone, the spirit of the law. That it's meant to keep people from using drugs in those areas or bringing drugs to those areas, and yeah, they're perverting that by directly bringing drugs to those areas. I'm sure they'll say they do it late at night when there's no children around, and they make sure that all of it's picked up afterwards, and it's only in the course of their investigation. That's bullshit. They're doing it just to trump up the charges. They're doing it just to add weight to their fists, and it's shameful. It's pathetic. It's the frankly, these people are busted anyway. They've already got their controlled buys. They're gonna meet them wherever they want to, apparently, because they're willing to go to a school zone without a second thought. Um, yeah, it's entrapment. It's pathetic. Um, yeah, and it's perverting the nature of school zones. Um, yeah, everything about it is shameful and bad. I'm sad to hear that it's being used, this tactic. Um, but what can you do? The drug war is sad and pathetic and terrible. It's a bad thing. It's always been a bad thing. Like, I believe in regulation, sure, but availability, absolutely. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Education, of course. Um, yeah, yeah. But it's shameful and pathetic. Uh, the tactics that we are allowing our police to use, and the mentality that makes us want the police to use them. Um, Shameful. We can do better. I'll end with that instead of my usual. We can do better. Oh, and P.S. As an added note, I think I do have a fourth reason why drug laws are stupid. Um, because there's nothing morally wrong with drug use. There's nothing inherently bad. I believe it's a gift from God, and it's my right to believe that. Uh, my father served his country. His father before him served it, and I believe his father before him served. I'm like a fourth generation, uh, not a military brat. I wasn't raised that way, but military descendant, I guess. But the reason that he stood up for his duty, he believed in his country, was so that I could have the feelings that I have. Um, yeah, yeah, and I'm not alone. I'm not alone, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's something we got to include with our society. And I will go back to we can do better.